And the answer has been growing here all along. In our fields and on our farms, raised and grown by American farmers.
It's time to put real food back where it belongs.
From America's harvest to America's holidays.
Because strong kids grow a stronger America. I've spent my life knowing what it takes to grow strong.
Great block from Joe Thomas.
And it starts with...
For generations, American farmers have grown the food that fuels us. But somewhere along the way, we traded real food for convenience.
And our kids were left to pay the price.
A potential time bomb.
Between overweight teens and early death.
They will pay the price for our neglect.
We knew something had to change.
And the answer has been growing here all along. In our fields and on our farms, raised and grown by American farmers.
It's time to put real food back where it belongs.
From America's harvest to America's holidays.
Because strong kids grow a stronger America. I've spent my life knowing what it takes to grow strong.
And thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Alveda Kiggs, Senior Advisor to the USDA Faith Center, and I've been asked to pray. I've been a school principal among many other things I've done, and the children and I were practicing in the hall. We're going to ask you to join the choir in just a second, but let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're here with sincere hearts and humble ambitions and hopes. USDA, led by Secretary Brooke Rollins and President Trump, and all of us care most about, after you, our children. And we're going to just simply ask you today to help us to make school lunch real again. Let us do all that we can to take care of America's children first, and maybe make lunch real around the world for other children too. But let us start at home. Forgive us of our sins. Help us to fix it, Lord, and just bless us and bless America. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, will you sing with me and the little children? You probably learned it when you were their age. Let's do this real quick. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, sing, children, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's make school lunch real again. All right.
Hi, everyone. I just met my new best friend, Lily, backstage, and she is the most amazing, precious little girl. And so I said, do you want to sit on my lap? Thinking for sure she'd say absolutely not. And she said yes. So she is going to help me start this amazing event off today. Can you please give Lily and all these beautiful children a big round of applause? I'm usually a little louder and more boisterous, but I don't want to scare her. So we're gonna. This is probably a good thing. Gonna be a little quieter. Listen, Dr. King, thank you, my dear friend and sister. Alveda and I have worked together for a long time. Neither one of us knew that on our bingo card we'd get to keep working together here at USDA. But when the president asked me to do this job, and then we had the opportunity to fill our faith office, knowing Alveda herself as a farmer, and one of the country's greatest patriots. What a joy, and it's just so wonderful to have you, Dr. King. Please help me thank Alveda King. What a light, such a source of light. And you'll get to hear from the amazing people sitting behind me. Of course, our incredible Secretary of Health and Human Services. How about Bobby Kennedy, everybody? And of course, one of the great intellectual leaders of this movement, Callie Means, is here. Big round of applause for Callie. She's done such a remarkable job. USDA's own National Advisor for Nutrition and Health. But again, talk about one of the world's greatest intellects and patriots. It's our very own Dr. Ben Carson is here. Chef Irvine is here as well and has done such a remarkable job helping Secretary Hegseth and obviously with Secretary Kennedy, but we're gonna pull him into USDA also on school lunches, and you'll get to hear from him in a little bit, but I'm not sure that there is a better voice for what it is that we're trying to do and how we're doing it and how it is possible. When everyone says it's impossible, it is possible, than Chef Robert Irvine. Thank you, Chef, for being here with us today. Thank you. And so grateful to have one of America's great Nebraska who has been making America healthy again at the state level. Please help me welcome Governor Jim Pillen. Thank you for being here, Governor. Governor Sarah Sanders is also on her way. Her flight got slightly delayed, but hopefully you'll see her scooch in here in just a few minutes and get to hear from her. So what an all-star cast, and again, how very, very grateful to have such a remarkable team on the field in this important issue. The start of the new school year is in swing for Lily and all of these beautiful children. I actually have now my kids back in school as well. And with that, we are celebrating the start of a new era in school nutrition, one that will bring even more real food from America's farms into America's school cafeterias. As the mom of 4, I know I speak for all of us when I say that nothing is more important than the health and well-being of our children, just like Lily and all of the friends up here. And we all know that academic success and good health starts with good nutrition. America's schools have been and continue to be vital partners in making sure children get the nutrients they need at this critical stage of their learning and development. And for many students, schools are where they get most of their meals and the healthiest food that they eat all day, and that is not lost on us. In fact, each school day, the National School Lunch Program serves about 30 million students across America, and the School Breakfast Program serves approximately 15 million, operating across 94,000 schools. That's over 4.8 billion lunches a year and over 2.5 billion breakfasts. Approximately 9 out of 10 public schools participate in this program, and roughly 80% of breakfast and 70% of those lunches provided are offered free or at a reduced price. So a very important underserved community that we can have a direct impact on. Through these programs, many schools are already providing students with the whole nutrient-dense foods that growing bodies and minds need to thrive, an element featured in our updated dietary guidelines for Americans that Bobby and I released earlier this year. Today, I am proud to share that over 100,000 DGA new dietary guidelines posters are being sent to schools to promote and continue to discuss the science-based and terrific work that got us to this place. Now, thank you. Something we should be very proud of. Now, the next step in making America healthy again is to accelerate this progress and get even more of our great bounty of America's harvest into our American schools. That's why today I am excited to make a couple of key announcements. Number one, we are on the 5-yard line right next to the end zone to finalize our proposed new school meals rule, which will implement our new dietary guidelines in schools across America. The rule, among other things, will promote whole food breakfast options. It will promote healthy cooking methods in our school cafeterias. It will make sure we've got 100% whole grains, whole fruit, and whole milk back in schools. This will be the most transformative action we have taken to date for our children in this country, and frankly, for the future of America. As we finalize the rule, we're also actively building MAHO momentum by encouraging states to volunteer to making school meals and snack programs healthier, signing our school meals pledge, and making sure that those who have adopted the new DGAs, revitalizing the health of our school children. Several states have signed that pledge so far, including the great Nebraska and including the great Arkansas. And we're just so grateful to that initial launch of leadership, but hopefully the goal would be to get all states signed on very, very quickly. And to ensure that everyone is familiar with this pledge and funding opportunities, we'll continue to partner with our friends at the state, tribal, territory, and local leaders outlining what we are doing to fundamentally change nutrition in our school lunches for the future. The second announcement today is making sure that everyone knows that what we are doing on our local option school procurement program, that through USDA, we will continue to make sure that schools know and that they utilize their F&A, their Food Nutrition Administration dollars, to help source locally. And the schools that have done it, like the one in Union County, Kentucky, where they are using it to procure and purchase locally produced beef. We're going to see a lot more of that moving forward. Third, very excited to announce we are further investing in school infrastructure. A lot of you have heard that many of our school cafeterias no longer have ovens. They no longer actually cook the food. Well, thanks to the additional $70 million that we are announcing today to upgrade school cafeterias, cold storage stoves, and other equipment, $70 million, we will begin to move out across the country. That is in addition to the $20 million we announced a couple of months ago. So $90 million will buy a lot of stoves and refrigerators, y'all, for schools across this country. Fourth and finally, to get more healthy food from the farm onto students' lunch trays, today we are announcing an additional $25 million in farm-to-school grants for the upcoming year. This continues our administration's strong support for the program, leveraging healthy food grown by our farmers and ranchers to support our local communities. In April, we made the largest investment ever in the history of farm-to-school grant program, awarding two cohorts a total of $20 million. One shining example, our friends in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Beef Council, our great friends there, they're now partnering with 175 local schools across the Keystone State to serve nearly 300,000 students great American beef and protein as we connect those ranchers and farmers directly to the schools. This is how we win, everyone. This is how we win. We've also started working directly with the private sector, and so grateful to announce that today our friends at Tyson Foods are committing over $1 million over the next 2 years to strengthen childhood access to food and nutrition resources. And Cisco and Aramark have pledged support as well, including school district partnerships, more locally sourced foods, and making sure that our school kitchens have what they need to make the best, most nutritious foods possible. As I end, let me say, at the end of the day, we are all here because we all want to see our kids thrive, and because we believe that a healthier future is within reach for all American children. It's within reach because our farmers grow and raise the healthiest food, the best food in the world, and the path to that future starts at USDA, at HHS, and across our entire administration. And of course, no one has been more a champion, been the game changer that this entire effort needed than my great partner, Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Please help me welcome him to the stage. Good job, Lily, good job. You just sit down.
Thank you, Brooke, and thank you all for being here, and particularly these beautiful children who are sitting here highlighting the announcements that we're going to make today. I got into this job initially because of my interest in kids. I had 11 brothers and sisters, and I had 70 first cousins, and I know what a healthy child is supposed to look like. I never knew a child with diabetes, never knew a child with autism, never knew a child with food allergies when I was growing up. And I started seeing these in so many kids and so many autoimmune diseases and neurodevelopmental diseases and allergic diseases in kids in the late 1990s and early 2000s. And I started talking about it then and not getting a response from anybody. And all the people who are on this stage with me today, and many are in the audience, Kyle Diamantes, who's at FDA, Stephanie Spear, and Alvito, who've been friends, and thank you for that beautiful invocation. Jim Pillen, amazing governor. I spent a day with him in Nebraska this week, and he's leading the MAHA charge all over the country, but the governor of Nebraska is a sideline for him. His real job is as a rancher, and Nebraska now produces more beef than Texas, so it's the biggest ranching, which he's very proud of, and so the biggest ranching and beef production in the country. And Ben Carson, who's an old friend, Robert Irvine, who's been driving these initiatives at USDA, Robert Irvine, who is the television chef, an extraordinary culinary artisan, who is transforming military foods in this country. And I've been to Fort Bragg and Fort Carson in recent days, and eaten at his bistros there where the troops are lined up out the door. The numbers of troops have gone from 300 to 400 a day to 3,000 to 4,000 a day. They're eating real food, good food that's good for them, rather than the junk that they were eating. And he's doing it at a 26% savings for the Pentagon. And of course, Callie Means, who in many ways brought us all together. So I'm very, very happy to be here with all of you today. And I'm President Trump, back in August, almost 2 years ago yesterday, invited me onto his campaign and promised that he would work side by side with me to fix our kids. We now have the sickest children in the world. We have the highest chronic disease burden of any generation in America and of any nation in the world. And he promised me that he would give me an opportunity to fix that. And every promise he's made to me and every commitment that he's made, he's kept. And we are doing it today. We are doing what he asked. This year, obesity rates dropped in this country for the first time in 40 years by about 3%. Consumption of real foods went up by 7 to 10% this year. And there are many, many other indicia that show that what we're doing is actually working, and it's going to work for this generation of kids. So we no longer have to have in this country the sickest children in the world. We're now going to have, once again, as when I was a kid, we're going to have the healthiest kids in the world. Under President Trump's leadership, we put nutrition back at the center of the American plate and of American health. Today, we are taking the next major step, changing what we feed our children at school and giving schools the tools to make those changes work. For millions of children, school breakfast and lunch are the most important meals they eat each day, and for many of them, they're the only meals. 1 in 5 American children live with obesity. 4 in 10 children have at least one chronic health condition. 77% of our kids cannot qualify for military service because of chronic disease. We're not going to spend taxpayer dollars in ways that continue to undermine our children's health. And that's why at HHS and USDA are moving forward with a major overhaul for federal school meal standards to align them with the dietary guidelines that Brooke and I put out last year. The rule is now under final review. Our plan is to significantly reduce added sugars, move children from refined grains towards whole grains, put high-quality protein back in the center of the plate, reduce reliance on highly processed foods, put fruit back in the plate instead of just calling it juice, making it easier for schools to cook nutritious meals from scratch. And we're raising the standards for what we feed our children in schools. But we also have to give schools a practical, affordable way to meet those standards. Many of these schools have closed their kitchens years ago and do not have the facilities to actually cook on campus. That's why today I'm announcing DEPEND, Developing Evidence for Programs to Ensure Nutrition Development, a new $32.5 million HHS initiative to help schools make that transition. Through HHS's Agency for Healthcare Research and the National Institute for Health, DEFEND will identify and rigorously evaluate practical, cost-efficient ways for schools to serve healthier foods within their operating budgets. Schools tell us they need better kitchens, equipment, training, practical models for cooking from scratch. DEPEND will help us determine what actually works. Many schools, incidentally, across the country have already made this transition and have done it without raising their meal budget. And we need to understand how they did that and help other schools to follow those strategies. And for those who can't, we need to help them upgrade their kitchens. We need to expand scratch cooking, reduce added sugars and ultra-processed food, serve more fresh produce, whole grains, and high-quality protein. We will use rigorous science to build a playbook on how schools across America can transition to real foods affordably. And through a partnership with NIH, all of us research programs, we will make these findings broadly available so a successful model in one community can be replicated nationwide. These actions are the latest steps in President Trump's overhaul of federal nutrition policy, an effort Secretary Rollins and I have pursued since day one. We started with the dietary guidelines. When we came in on the same day, and we were given dietary guidelines that were developed over 4 years by the Biden administration. They were 453 pages long, and they were written by food industry lobbyists, and they reflected the mercantile impulses that had put Fruit Loops at the top of the food pyramid. And we changed that. We brought the best nutritionists in the country together. We locked them in a room for 11 months, and they came back with science-based guidelines that put real nutrient-dense food back at the center of the American diet. Those guidelines now provide the foundation for the actions we are announcing today. Our challenge has been, okay, we now know what people should be eating. How do we drive those changes into American dietary culture? And there are many, many ways that we can do that, and a lot of those involve using the subsidy programs. Brooke gives out $405 million of food subsidies a day, about $9 billion a year, and we can use that to get those programs, WIC and Head Start and Indian Health Services and SNAP, to align with the dietary guidelines. We reformed the GRAS standards, and thank you to Kyle Diamantes for that work, so that FDA can know what substances are actually in our foods. We called on industry to eliminate synthetic food dyes, and so far 26 leading food companies have answered that call. And today, America's dairy producers notified us that they have eliminated certified artificial colors from milk, cheese, yogurt, sold in our schools 1 year after delivering on their commitment to reduce added sugars in flavored school milk. They made those two promises and they delivered a year ahead of time. I want to thank the dairy industry. Our federal definition of ultra-processed food is now in final review. We're working with the governors to remove soda, candy from SNAP, and 23 states have already taken that action. The first state to take it was Jim Pillen state under his leadership, Nebraska. And that crazy federal judge told us that, that soda drinks are nutritious, and we got to get that reversed. And now we're bringing the same transformation to school cafeterias across America. We have joined forces with farmers, producers, businesses, researchers, schools to bring real food back to our children's plates. Already we have seen tremendous commitment from our partners in the private sector. Egg producers are finding new ways to bring high-quality protein into the cafeterias. The International Fresh Produce Association is mobilizing growers and producers, and my friend Chef Robert Irvine, who is here behind me, is proving we can serve our service members real nutritious food for less than $10 a day. We owe that to our service members, and we owe that to our children. Thanks to all of you, to Secretary Rollins, to Ben Carson, to Dr. Alveda King, to the White House team led by Heidi Overton, and to Kyle DeMontes at FDA, and our HHS team led by Rachel Amro, Babs Ho, and Sam Waters, who I also saw here today. The USDA team led by Tate Bennett and Jennifer Tiller, and our farmers and producers and our private sector partners for helping make this vision a reality. I also want to recognize two great MAHA champions, Jim Pillen and Governor Sarah Huckabee from Arkansas, who are leading the charge to restore health in our children in their states. Together, we will make America healthy again, and I now hand this podium over to Dr. Ben Carson.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. And what a pleasure it has been for me working with Secretary Rollins and Secretary Kennedy, because neither of them have big egos, and they're willing to work together. And this partnership has been going on for more than a year, and multiple other people have been involved in it. And to see such wonderful things happening is tremendous, and taking a holistic approach to health care. And I'm delighted to see these young people here. It takes me back to my days as a pediatric neurosurgeon. And one of the things that I always emphasize to patients who are undergoing surgery is healthy diet and hydration and preparing their bodies. Those are the people who heal so much faster, so much nicer. And you think about these young children in our schools. This is the developmental part of their life. And if they are given the right nutrition and the right exercise and water, hydration, it makes a tremendous difference, not only in terms of their physical stature, but in terms of their mental abilities, which comes all the way back to our national defense. Because if we have healthy people, we're going to have much more capable people of defending ourselves. Think about that. You know, I'm particularly glad to see this emphasis on nutrition, but the partnering with several of the farmers and with some of the industrials who are responsible for providing the food, getting them involved and feeling that they have a responsibility makes a difference. And I have found that this is not a partisan issue. Everybody should be interested in growing healthy children. I remember not too many months ago, Secretary Rollins and I went to a school, and we were giving the children whole milk. They were just so amazed. They said, I didn't know milk could taste this good. And what if we introduced them to food fresh from the ground, teaching them, making these relationships with the farmers so they learn about the soil, they learn about irrigation, they learn about the effect that has on the crop. They get an opportunity to eat a tomato fresh off the vine. It's a different food than you get in the store, quite frankly. Fresh sweet corn and hot dogs. But what a difference it makes when they can taste these things. They won't have a craving for the unhealthy foods that are so prevalent in our society and that constitute approximately 50 to 60% of the calories that they take in per day. We have an opportunity right now to change that. And I would encourage everybody, no matter what your area is, what your area of influence is, use that influence in an appropriate way to help to push these programs for good nutrition and healthy upraising of our children, which will strengthen our nation. And now we're going to get a chance to actually hear a little bit about that food preparation from Chef Irvine.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Well, good afternoon, I should say. Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, thank you both for taking this mantle and allowing Robert Irvine and the Robert Irvine Foundation to be part of this amazing work. A lot of you don't know, but for 20 years, I made it my personal mission to improve how we feed the men and women that wear the cloth of our nation and serve our nation. We have shown that on military installations that fresh, healthy, delicious food that people actually want to eat, doesn't automatically require a bigger budget. It requires a smarter purchasing, better preparation, and responsible use of what we already spend. Nutrition isn't the whole answer, but it's the foundation to readiness. Our service members are athletes. We ask them to perform the highest level under extraordinary pressure, and we have to fuel them in that way. That makes food a matter of national security. And that just isn't about feeding today's military. It's about feeding the future that you see sitting in front of you. Readiness doesn't begin on the first day somebody puts on a uniform. It begins years earlier, at home, in our communities, and especially in our schools. That's why the school nutrition is more important than just public health. It's not just a public health issue. It's a long-term readiness and national security issue. 1 in 4 of these children will join our military. 1 in 4 will become a doctor. 1 in 4 will become a teacher. National security. The health and the habits that we teach these children to build on today will shape the strength of our country for tomorrow. The next step is to apply what we've learned thoroughly to serve America's children, and thoughtfully. It isn't enough just to put a healthier food on a tray or a plate, because that's what we do now, or up until now. What counts is if the children eat it. We put healthier food on their trays, they eat it, they understand, and it builds habits that they will carry home. No single agency, company, chef, or nonprofit can do this alone. But the word difficult does not mean impossible. Most of you know that. There's no such thing as impossible. I don't believe in it. And looking around the room and looking behind me, neither do any of the people behind me. The government brings scale, the private sector brings speed and innovation, and myself and the foundation, Robert Irvine Foundation, to help turn those trends into action on the ground. And a news flash. Today, right now, while I'm stood here, my corporate chef is at Fort Bragg at the first Dowia School, checking out this week. His name's Shane Cash. He's listening, learning, and doing on-the-ground diligence what we need to understand to make a pilot for the DeWeer School, 176 schools, so we know how to build it at scale, quickly. Yes. That change happens when we listen, we learn, we prove what works, and scale it responsibly. We're not just here to talk about healthier food. We're here to actually put it on the plate. People can talk all you like, but unless it's on the plate and these folks are eating it and these folks are supporting it, it does not happen. This is the beginning of a network that is run by two amazing people. Thank you very much for taking this on, because I know it's a big deal. Now, the real work starts. And those who watch my show, there's a saying, let's get to work and let's make America healthy again. Thank you.
This is a momentous announcement, a joyous announcement, a bipartisan announcement, a unifying announcement. And I think it's a historically important announcement that matters to Americans across their kitchen tables around the country. And I want to give some context of why. 2 years ago, if you said that fixing school lunches would be a top presidential priority, most people in Washington would probably laugh at you. Today, on this stage, we have the federal government, governors, doctors, farmers, schools, some of the largest food companies in America. They're sitting in the same room asking a very different question. We're asking, how do we make sure every American child has access to real, delicious, nutritious food? And that change did not happen by accident. The partnership between President Trump, Secretary Kennedy, Secretary Rollins, has put something incredibly basic at the center of American health policy and at the center of the national conversation. Food matters. For decades, nutrition was treated like a side issue in medicine. At Stanford Medical School, my sister raised dietary interventions as a potential treatment and was essentially told, you didn't go to dietitian school, you're trained to be a real doctor. Do the prescriptions, do surgery. Think about how backwards that is. We've become extraordinarily sophisticated at treating chronic disease after people get sick, and strangely incurious about why so many Americans, particularly kids, were getting sick in the first place. This is changing, and it's a major historical development, and it is because of the Trump administration's leadership and the leadership of Secretary Kennedy and Secretary Rollins. America is confronting a reality. We cannot solve our devastating chronic disease crisis without fixing our food. We spend more and more treating diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and other chronic conditions that make up 9 in 10 causes of American death. Our children are getting sicker, younger, and ultra-processed food has become the dominant part of an American child's diet. This is not because of willpower. It's an incentive problem. And when government itself spends billions of dollars buying food, government has an enormous opportunity to change those incentives. That is what Secretary Rollins and Secretary Kennedy understand. And look at what has happened. When Secretary Rollins arrived at USDA, she challenged the idea that taxpayer-funded nutrition programs should subsidize products that contribute to the very diseases taxpayers then spend enormous sums treating. People said changing SNAP 2 years ago was impossible. Now we have governors on the stage, and more than 50% of governors, red and blue, have submitted waivers to take soda and candy off of SNAP to the USDA, and the USDA for the first time has accepted those waivers. People said the dietary guidelines could never seriously challenge ultra-processed food, refined carbohydrates, and added sugar, and they did. The message today is simple: eat real food. And the principle has enormous implications because the federal government isn't merely giving Americans nutrition advice. The federal government is one of the largest food purchasers in the world. What we buy matters, what we serve our troops matter, what we serve our kids matter, what we serve in hospitals matter. And as we're talking about today, that food on a child's tray, those 45 million meals a day, matters. There will be people who instinctively criticize anything this administration does. But school lunches should be bigger than politics. Look around this room. Thank you. That's worth a clap. But we can tell that's becoming true by looking around this room. We have leaders from government, medicine, academia, school systems, agriculture, and corporate America who don't agree on everything, and that's okay. But they agree that America's kids deserve better food. Some of the backbone of American food distribution and food service is here. School nutrition leaders are here. Farmers are here. Health organizations are here. And all over America, schools are demonstrating something important. This can be done. Kids can love real food. Schools can serve real food. American farmers can grow that food. They grow the best of any farmers in the world. And government procurement can help connect those farmers with schools. Nobody is pretending that the logistics are easy, that changing supply chains isn't hard, that changing menus isn't hard, that changing procurement contracts isn't hard. But as Chef Irvine said, hard and impossible are very different things. Again and again over the last 2 years, we've been told food reform was impossible. Impossible to reform SNAP, impossible to change the dietary guidelines, impossible to put nutrition back into medical education. When we took office, 80% of medical schools did not require a nutrition course in medical school. Today, the majority of U.S. medical schools require it as their standard curriculum, and the head of the AAMC, which arbiters medical schools in the United States, stood with Secretary Kennedy and said that understanding nutrition, the root cause of disease, is foundational to medical education. People said it was impossible to change food procurement. And again, this supposedly impossible has started happening. School lunch is next. This will not change overnight. It will happen school by school, supplier by supplier, contract by contract, state by state. But the direction is now unmistakable. Government food dollars should increasingly support real food. They should increasingly support American farmers. And above all, they should increasingly support healthy American children. To every company in this room, help us build the products and supply chains that make that possible. To every school leader, show us what works. To every farmer, we want more of what you grow reaching America's children. And to everyone whose business model depends on taxpayer dollars continuing to buy food we know should not be feeding kids, the world is changing. Please change with it. There is no Republican school lunch and no Democratic school lunch. There is just the food we feed our children. We have the resources, the farmers, the companies, the schools, and the ingenuity to make the healthiest and most delicious food in the world in the United States for kids. We can do this. And by judging by the people in this room and the momentum this has had, we already are. I think we need one more round of applause for recognizing the extraordinary group of leaders, federal, state government, agriculture, schools, medicine, academia, industry, all the people in this room who have come together to make this happen. Let's hear it for them. And it's now an honor to introduce one of the great leaders in the country, one of the great leaders for healthier kids, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders of Arkansas.
Thank you so much. I know everybody's disappointed because you thought I wasn't coming, and that meant that this program was going to be slightly shorter than it is, so I promise that I will try to be quick, but it is an honor to be here and great to be back at the USDA headquarters. I have to say I've been to this building several times, and never has the front row looked so good. You guys are doing an amazing job. If only we could get members of Congress to behave as well as you guys, we would be doing even better. But it is such a great thing and such a beautiful reminder of why we are all here, and so thankful for the awesome job you guys are doing on the front row. And it's wonderful to be back and see some of my good friends, Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, and Dr. Ben Carson, three of the most impactful and effective members of the entire Trump administration who are true public servants and doing an absolutely incredible job. It's also exciting to be with one of my favorite colleagues, Nebraska Governor Pillen. Always good to see you and join you, especially as we gear up and head into the next football season. So we get to be friends now. We don't know what it looks like here in a couple of months. And Callie Means and Chef Robert for their leadership of the MAHA movement, which is really taking our country by storm in the best way possible. Thank you for what you're doing. And I hate that I missed Dr. King's prayer because I know it would have been beautiful. I have had the chance to hear and see her many times, and what a blessing it is to see you and always to share a stage with you. Thank you for the great things you do on behalf of our country. You know, what the Trump administration is saying right now is something that frankly is obvious to every parent or teacher. What our kids eat is one of the most important parts of their development and growth. But for far too long, nobody in Washington seemed to care. President Trump and Secretary Rollins and Kennedy are changing that. You know, some good friends of mine in Arkansas also understood this. Their names are Bill and Sherry Jones. They're successful business owners in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, which is an impoverished city deep in the Delta and the place I first called home. Many years ago, Bill was coaching one of their son's baseball teams. The year he first coached, he saw that the team was absolutely stacked with raw talent. But despite all of that skill and all of the practice, their players could never come together to win a game. One night, he was smart enough to call on the real powerhouse in their family, and he asked his wife, Sherry, to come to practice and watch and see if she could figure out what was going on. Sherry started walking around and talking to her son's teammates. And at one point, she stopped and asked a couple of the players a really important key question. Are you hungry? When the kids nodded their heads, she knew how she was going to solve her husband's problem. So she started bringing food to every practice the team had. And not just orange slices and juice boxes, but full meals. So she knew that each of these kids were eating. She even asked her husband to hold more practices so she knew that the players were getting fed. By the end of the season, Sherry was on the first-name basis with restaurant workers across town. She paid out of pocket to feed her son's entire team, not looking for credit, but just making sure a couple of kids in the Delta didn't go to bed hungry. And the team turned it around and went on to win 3 championships. That type of generosity is extraordinary. But unfortunately, we can't count on there being a Bill and Sherry in every community in America. And it's absolutely unacceptable that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and in my home state where agriculture is our #1 industry, and we supply many of the products that feed America, there are still kids who wake up and go to bed hungry. That's why I was proud to make Arkansas the first state in the South to provide free breakfast to every single public school student. It's why we made all reduced price lunches completely free. And it's why I launched the Arkansas Plate Initiative and the Rice in Schools program to get healthy, homegrown food by Arkansas farmers into school cafeterias across our state. But this isn't just an Arkansas problem, and we know we can't have an Arkansas-only solution. That's why I'm so excited to be here and to join in the announcement of Harvest to Hallways initiative. This is about feeding our kids and helping our farmers. But it's so much bigger than that. Because if the next generation is getting the nutrition they need and is coming to school fed, they're going to be better learners, better students, and ultimately a better generation to lead our country. I want to again thank Secretary Rollins and Kennedy for the investment that they're making to build a healthier, stronger America. And I'm here to say that you have Arkansas's full support. Because when we make our farmers strong again, when we make our kids healthy again, then we will truly make America great again. Thank you so much for letting me be here today.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and awesome to see you, Governor. Really, really good. And I think it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. It's obvious the people behind me, what an extraordinary group of people that have a ton of care. And this is the one thing that I know. We all agree, right? We all agree our kids are our future. We're never, ever going to give up on one kid anywhere, anytime, any place. You all agree? So I think that it's really, really important that we all, this just isn't a state problem, this just isn't a federal government problem, it's all of us responsibility as Americans to look after these young people so they can grow up and be extraordinary leaders in the United States of America, so we have another 250 years of prosperity in the country that's the greatest country in the history of civilization. Do we not all agree on that? There's maybe a piece that I think is real important. As I look around the crowd, I'm probably longer in the tooth than most anybody here. How on earth did we get here? How on earth did we get here where we have 60 and 70% of our children obese? How did this happen? Well, my humble opinion is this. We had a government policy years ago that said we have to have cheap food. And we created companies that made processed foods. Just so everybody understands, this is not complicated. Processed foods are full of sugars and carbohydrates and taste buds that you just can't eat one. And here's what's happening. There's no nutritional value in it. If you're a part of a company that makes processed food, I'd encourage you to sell your stock because your companies are going to go broke because we cannot keep eating it because it is destroying our youth. And oh, by the way, it's destroying grandmas and grandpas and moms and dads. Obesity and all of the illnesses that come from it is 100% processed foods. It's really important that we recognize you don't have to be a PhD dietitian to figure it out. When you go to the grocery store, stay out of the middle aisles. Go around the edges where you can buy fruits, vegetables, milk from cows, not almond nut juice, milk from cows. Make sure you can buy beef and pork, poultry and fish. And then, that's real food. That's food that we all grew up on. It's a critical component because our kids need, before they go to school, they need love, they need food. By the way, moms and dads, make sure, Sarah, nobody lets your kids sleep with your phones. They need mental health and sleep as well. All I know is this. Do you believe we can? Because if you believe you can't, you're 100% correct. I believe this is one of the most incredible opportunities to make a difference for generations to come. I believe this. Together we can. Together we will. Together we'll make an incredible difference for these kids. God bless you, Brooke and Bobby, for all that you do. Sarah, thank you.
Well, please help me thank our amazing young ladies and gentlemen down on the stage. First, for sitting through that whole thing. Isn't this amazing? And my Lily. I also want to thank these incredible partners behind us. I think Secretary Kennedy, about a year and a half ago, when everyone assumed that you and I were going to be the first divorce amongst the Trump administration, they actually wrote about that who would break up the first. And they said, oh, Bobby Kennedy and Brooke are never going to get along. This is going to last a day or two. And I'm not sure there's a stronger partnership or friendship across the whole cabinet. So God bless you, and thank you for taking me along on this ride. Thank you. What a joy. And Dr. Ben Carson, to have one of the premier brain experts, brain surgeons in the world along on this important journey. God has put us here for this moment, and we are meeting that moment, and I just couldn't be more grateful. Chef Irvine, to hear you talk about how you can do this, how you have done it, how it is possible, combine, Callie, with what you said, is true. And when you were talking, Callie, I was reminded of this country 250 years ago was founded with a handful of ordinary people, farmers and teachers and tradesmen, who came together at an extraordinary moment in world history to do something different and big that no one thought was possible. And that's exactly what you outlined, and that is exactly what we're working to do today. So I'm so grateful. And my sister, Sarah Sanders, we've been through a lot of things, but to see you lead Arkansas, and Jim, you lead Nebraska. I talked about the founders. You know, the vision was the states should be where the real action happens, and the states are the laboratories of democracy, where the idea was the federal government shouldn't be in charge of everything. It should be the states. And you both leading your states in that way and creating models for everybody else is exactly what our founders intended. So y'all, please help me thank all these extraordinary partners as we continue to make America healthy again. So God bless you all. Thank you for being here. More to come on school lunches. We just could not be more grateful. It is time to make school lunches healthy again and great again, and we just couldn't be more proud to be part of that effort. God bless you all. Thank you so much.